Police chief at Butler Community College had his officer's license revoked after a complaint was made regarding inappropriate contact with a coworker. This comes after an investigation by the Kansas Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training. Dylan Domingue joins us with that investigation and what it revealed. Dylan?
Yeah, Mike, so it was last month that the school's former police chief, Glendale Henderson, had his Kansas officer certification revoked following that investigation. It details that Butler Community College and the Kansas Commission received a report last October involving inappropriate contact between Henderson and a female coworker at the school. So the report shows that a camera on campus actually captured that inappropriate behavior. The report says the video shows the female coworker on her knees in front of the former chief at his desk for 5 minutes, and then shows a hug and a kiss between the two. When the college interviewed Henderson about the video, he said he and the coworker were just good friends. According to the report, the commission found that Henderson gave false information and keep good moral character needed to keep the public's trust in him as an officer. Now, the report also found that actions did not violate any laws. Henderson worked in the school's Department of Public Safety from February 2021 to July of this year.